Airports are some of the most visited and, at the same time, mysterious places out there. So, let's see what's going on behind the scenes and what secrets airports hide. At some airports, there are special people called profilers. Such people bring to life a special program called SPOT, Screening Passengers by Observation Technique. They analyze your mimics, gestures, and behavior in order to detect suspicious people. Their job is to notice nonverbal signs of anxiety, people licking their lips, itching, or looking around a lot. If a profiler notices a person acting in an unusual way, they can invite them for an inspection. There, they talk to this person, trying to find out more about them and confirm, or not, their suspicions. Airport agents might also be watching you all the way from the security check to your gate. Some airports have facial recognition scanners that can easily track you. They're equipped with special software that compares passengers' faces with their IDs. Keep in mind that if you don't charge your laptop before the flight, it may be confiscated. It's not uncommon for an airport security officer to ask you to power your device up. If you fail to do it, your gadget can be taken away for an additional check. For safety reasons, it's crucial to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with or modified in a way that can cause harm during the flight. Packing an electric brush in your check-in luggage may land you in trouble. Brushes produced by some brands have lithium batteries inside, and those can potentially lead to serious problems in the air. That's why leaving your electric brush in your checked suitcase isn't an option. But you're allowed to store them in your carry-on bag. At the same time, if your device runs on AA batteries, you can put it wherever you want. Anyone who's ever traveled by plane knows about the no liquids rule, but not everybody knows that this rule also applies to peanut butter, toothpaste, creams, lotions, liquid makeup, lava lamps, snow globes, some kinds of medications, deodorant, and even gel shoe inserts. Now, let's go outside for a while and look at those landing spots. Airports charge airline companies huge fees for landing on their runways on certain days and at particular times. But the most interesting thing is that the landing spots can be bought and sold. For example, in 2016, Oman Air paid Air France around $75 million for one early morning arrival slot at London Heathrow Airport. You must have noticed that airfare has increased over the past decade. That's because of the extremely high prices of landing slots. Dispatchers don't only control the planes in the sky, as you can often see in the movies, but they also look after their movements on the ground. They also control the lighting on the runways. There's 3 types of air traffic controllers: en route, terminal, and tower. Each of these dispatchers has their own area of responsibility. One dispatcher has about 5 monitors, and the information on them is constantly changing since the monitors show weather conditions and information about other planes. You know how it sometimes goes. You come to a security checkpoint, and all of a sudden, it turns out you have something prohibited in your carry-on. But worry not, you still have a chance to save your favorite penknife. At some airports, there are on-site postal services, and you might have an opportunity to mail your belongings to any address you provide. But the mailing fees are pretty high. Plus, certain items are prohibited, and the postal service won't deliver them. Airports can be selling your lost luggage right now. Of course, I don't say that there's no chance for you to get back your suitcases that's traveled to a different destination, but just as likely, you might not see it again. In this case, an airport has the right to sell your misplaced belongings at an auction. Most airports have an annual lost luggage sale. After paying an entry fee, you can bid on electronics, clothes, bags, and other stuff. While flying, you might have a celebrity on board, but you won't know it. Large airports have separate check-in and security procedures for celebrities. They often board the plane directly through a hidden door located beside the jet bridge. Some airlines also use cool cars to transfer VIP passengers from the terminal building to the plane. At the same time, most people come to the airport well ahead of time. And the most popular activity while waiting for a flight is wandering through the duty-free zone. And even though people rarely plan to buy anything there, different products end up in their shopping baskets. That's because lots of airports are designed in a special way that makes people feel relaxed and at ease. I'm talking about all those huge windows, a lot of light, massage chairs, and comfortable seating areas. And statistically, calm passengers are 10% more likely to spend money on retail, duty-free, and food. Designers put a lot of thought into airport layouts. It helps to ensure the smooth flow of travelers. And the main point here is easy navigation that can prevent people from getting lost. This is achieved through subtle but very effective design cues. And placing duty-free zones between security checkpoints and boarding gates is one of them. They supposedly help you relax after clearing security and lead you where you need to go. But speaking of food, a celebrity chef restaurant at the airport might not be as good as it would be if you were visiting the real thing. Not chefs themselves, but special restaurant companies are responsible for airport outlets. One of the reasons is the extremely strict security that surrounds airport deliveries, including food. You may still have a nice meal, but it won't be the same. Now, I'll tell you about one more way airports manipulate you into spending your money. They make you walk through the shiny duty-free stores straight after the security check. But the most curious thing is that the walkway through such stores usually veers to the left. That's done because most people are right-handed, which means they use their right arm to pull their luggage and are more likely to look to the right while passing through the stores. And the duty-free zone veering to the left leaves more space on the right, where passengers are more likely to look. Oh, and have you ever noticed how many mirrors there are at airports? Mirrors are strategically placed there to make airports appear larger and create an illusion of more space. This in turn helps to reduce the feeling of claustrophobia and makes the airport experience more comfortable for travelers. If you have an opportunity, don't exchange cash at the airport. You'll never get a good rate there. Those who didn't buy local currency in advance can instead order it online and collect it at the airport. Some services only need a few hours' notice for such an order, or it might even be better to use an ATM to withdraw some cash at your final destination. Now, have you ever paid attention to airport codes? The most often used are 3-letter codes. Why this number? Back in the 1930s in the USA, pilots used the National Weather Service's 2-letter city codes to refer to airports. But soon, the number of airports in the country outgrew the number of such codes. That's why airlines expanded this system by adding the 3rd letter. It was usually X. That's how LA, Los Angeles, turned into LAX. But even though there shouldn't be 2 airports with the same code, some of these codes sound so similar you could easily mistake one for the other. For example, look at this airport with the code CGP in Bangladesh. And here we have CPG. It's the code of an airport in Argentina. It's dangerously easy to fly to the wrong place, so pay attention. Many airports have carpets at their gate areas. This nicety usually comes with a few other perks: lower ceilings, comfortable seats, and pleasant natural lighting. All this costs more for airports, and carpets are not so easy to clean as hard floors are. But they create a cozy feeling for passengers waiting for their flight, making them more relaxed. Still, it isn't a gesture of goodwill on the part of airports. According to social research, calm passengers are about 7 to 10% more likely to go window shopping and actually buy something in the lounge area or duty-free zone. So, by investing in the passenger's comfort, airports actually increase their own income. If you ever wanted to know what happened to your baggage while you're on board a plane, the short answer is that airport staff don't actually know once it leaves their territory, and they probably really don't care. Sorry. Baggage is sorted automatically. Scanners scan the barcode and sort the baggage according to its destination. The 3 main tasks of airport baggage handlers are to move your bags from the check-in area to the gate, to move them from one gate to another when you have a connection, and to move your bags from the plane to the baggage claim area. And that's it. So if your luggage doesn't move fast enough, it can be late for your connecting flight, or the exact opposite. Your bag gets to your destination before you do because you're stuck at passport control. Another problem can arise if you forget to tear off any old stickers showing a different destination. In this case, the scanner might send your luggage to the wrong country. Most airports are equipped with giant kitchens where the food for passengers is prepared. These kitchens usually cook food for different airlines at once. And since that oh-so-delightful airplane food must be cooked for about 6 to 10 hours in advance, these kitchens have to work 24/7. And however surprising it might sound, the menu for your flight is developed up to a year in advance. This is a common practice for most airlines because every single ingredient matters and adds to expenses. In fact, one airline managed to save $40,000 after they removed just one olive from every salad they served on their flights. Airport staff sometimes ask passengers to rub their hands on a piece of cloth before putting it into a special machine. It might seem kind of scary, but it's actually harmless. You're simply being checked by a machine called an atomizer. Before their working day starts, employees put samples of dangerous chemicals into the machine. The machine memorizes these smells, and in case a person's hand smells like those chemicals, it alerts airport staff to this danger. You know how it sometimes goes. You come to the security checkpoint, and suddenly, it turns out you have something prohibited to take on board in your carry-on. But don't worry, all the things seized during the pre-flight inspection can be stored at the airport for as long as 3 months. On top of that, you have an opportunity to mail them any address inside the country. Things taken away by security and weren't claimed can also get sold at special auctions and are delivered worldwide. If you have a long layover between flights, going to the nearest hotel to rest might not be the cheapest option. There's a much better trick. Check if the airport or airline sells 24-hour access to the VIP lounge zone. In most cases, you can have free snacks and drinks there and use free shower cabins and rooms for rest at a very affordable price. In multi-terminal airports, search for underground passageways connecting terminals that most people might not know about. For example, at Frankfurt Airport in Germany, there's a walking tunnel between Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 that's mostly used by employees since passengers are simply unaware of its existence. There's an actual term for the first 60 minutes after you clear check-in. The golden hour. It's the time that passengers statistically spend more money in retail and duty-free areas of the airport. And having the most comfortable seats in those areas right in front of the shops is a clever trick to lure you in for shopping. Let's admit, sitting in front of a comfy chair while looking at a flashy sign or shopping window can be tempting, and that's exactly what the airports want you to feel. If your flight is overbooked and you can't fly at the designated time, don't hurry to accept the first voucher you're offered as an apology. Normally, airlines keep raising the stakes until they have enough volunteers to give up their flight seats. And if they don't, and you've been bumped in voluntarily, you can insist on a cash refund instead. Depending on your ticket price and the time of your delay, you might be entitled to as much as $1,300. Most airports have specific experts called profilers. These people practice what's called SPOT, or the screening passengers by observation technique. They carefully analyze facial expressions, gestures, and behavior in order to detect suspicious people. Their job is to notice the nonverbal signs of anxiety, such as people licking their lips, itching, or looking around a lot. If a profiler notices a person acting in a weird or off way, they can invite them for an inspection, where they can talk to a person to find out more about them. Profilers work in both the main halls and in passport control. The typical question they ask is, "What's the purpose of your visit?" Then they check the person's reaction to this inquiry. No matter how reserved a passenger is, if they have something to hide, TSA officers will find out, thanks to the tiniest cues in people's behavior. Before your luggage even gets on the plane, it goes through 5 security levels, and one of them, besides scanning the contents, includes being checked by a special dog that can sniff out dangerous chemicals. It's a well-known fact that a dog's nose is much stronger than that of any human. In fact, dogs distinguish smells from 10,000 to 100,000 times better than people do. No wonder airports take advantage of this super sense for security and regularly use these sniffer dogs to detect suspicious substances. What's really cool is that you can't even distinguish a detection dog from its civilian siblings. Unlike police dogs, the ones working at airports aren't trained to frighten or intimidate people. The most popular sniffer breeds are Golden Retrievers, Labs, and German Short-Haired Pointers. Charging your phone at a specifically designated spot can look convenient, but it's not really safe. If the charging station only allows you to plug in your cord, you might get malware installed on your phone with you none the wiser. The only safe way to charge your phone or tablet is to find an electric socket and use it with your own charger. Same goes for free airport Wi-Fi, apart from the airports requiring you to authenticate yourself more often than not. Someone can easily access your data while you're using an unprotected Wi-Fi hotspot. It's safer to use your mobile data, but if you absolutely have to use the airport's Wi-Fi, best clear or encrypt all your important data on your device. It might be exasperating to take your laptop out of your carry-on at the security check every single time. But the airport staff need to have a clear look at your device to make sure nothing is concealed inside. On the screen of an X-ray scanner, a laptop looks like a semi-transparent object with a clearly visible hard drive, CD drive, and whatnot. But security officers can't see what's behind some of those parts. For example, a dense and rather large battery. People tend to choose the closest security line to them. If that line turns out to be super crowded, just look around after ID and ticket check. You may see another checkpoint with much fewer people. Some checkpoints at the airport are situated at the far edges of the terminal, and that's why passengers fail to notice them. Applying for a TSA pre-check can be a great time saver for traveling in and out of the US. Being a member of this program has some great perks. First, getting through security and passport control happens faster. If you're a pre-check traveler, you won't have to take off your shoes or remove your belt, and forget about placing your stuff like liquids and laptops in special bins. If you aren't flying to or from the US, then you can look up similar services available in your country. If you're flying economy class but don't like it, who does? Check in online and check out the seating options about 4 days before your flight. It's about that time that airlines typically start upgrading seats, and you might get an upgrade to business class for a small fee or even sometimes for free. You can also ask for an upgrade when you're already at the airport. Most people forget about this opportunity or simply don't care, so you might just get lucky.
See that person at the airport checkpoint? They're getting scrutinized by security, keeping everyone else waiting in the line. Yeah, getting through the screening seems like it takes forever, especially with those strict and confusing rules. But there are tips to make it faster. You want to know them? Well then, pull up a seat. Oh, you're sitting already? Way to anticipate, pal. 1. Don't travel with coffee. Most people bring magnets or keychains from their journey. But if your type of souvenir is packs of Java, don't expect to go through the security in the blink of an eye. Usually, this love for coffee results in TSA workers searching through your bags. And it doesn't matter if you travel with a carry-on or checked baggage. Apparently, the strong smell of coffee might be used to hide the smell of suspicious substances. But not only coffee can get you into trouble. Number 2. Avoid packing cheese. Many countries just call for taking a giant wheel of cheese back home from holidays. And who doesn't like cheese? But it's going to be the reason for a fuss during the X-ray monitoring. Because cheese, as well as all other organic products like meat, looks orange on the screen, which raises suspicions. 3. Pack smart. It's better to pack the bare minimum if you really want to make it quickly through the security check. If that's not an option for you, then don't put things on the bottom of your carry-on if you know you'll have to take them out for separate screening. Such things usually include electronics and the bag with liquids. However, security can ask you to remove even snacks or books from your carry-on to make sure an overstuffed bag is safe. So it's better to place those things in a side pocket or at the top of your bag for easy reach. 4. Choose the right outfit. Wearing slip-on shoes is your best bet. No one wants to be that person who makes everyone wait in line while they're fumbling with their shoelaces when asked to take off their footwear. I've been there. Yeah, the poor schmuck with the shoelaces. As for clothes, put on something simple, without many pockets or a lot of metal decorations. Also, change your belt for one with a plastic buckle. And try to minimize the number of accessories such as jewelry, watches, and hairpins. 5. Don't make a fancy hairdo. Guys, More on airport fashion. If you have long hair, just snatch it in a simple ponytail or keep it loose. Otherwise, you set yourself up for an additional inspection from security. Anything from carefully braided hair to an elaborate updo will keep you at the checkpoint longer. Piled up hair can look like a great style choice for you, but for TSA agents, it looks like a place where something might be hidden, like a Cornish game hen, or worse. 6. Keep in mind the 311 rule. You can only bring 3.4 ounces or smaller containers on board in your carry-on. But here's a little catch. All those containers must fit in one quart-size Ziploc bag. This is the so-called 311 rule, which many airports follow around the world. Best check the website of your airline for more info on carry-on, though. Notice that toothpaste, as well as various face and body creams, are considered liquids. All other containers that are larger than 3.4 ounces, regardless of the actual amount inside, must be packed in checked baggage. 7. Leave your spare change at home. Okay, here's a bit of statistics for you. The estimated amount of change U.S. travelers collectively left behind at security checkpoints in 2018 was somewhere around $1 million. So, to save your money and time during the security check, simply leave your pocket change at home. This way you'll have to put less stuff in plastic bins when you go through the scanners, and won't make others wait while you're fishing for your dimes in that bin. Speaking of money… 8. Don't bring a lot of cash. If you travel abroad, it seems logical to exchange money for the currency of the country you're going to at the best rate. Your travel agent might even recommend this. But carrying anything in bulk will inevitably make you suspicious for airport security. They most probably are going to ask you questions about why you need so much cash and where it came from. 9. Weigh your bags. No, not wave at your bags. Either do it at home or before heading out to the airport, or use the scales that many terminals have in front of the check-in areas to make sure your baggage isn't overweight. And even if it happens to be a bit heavier than it's supposed to be, then you'll have some time to do any swapping between your bags before it's your turn to show up at the check-in counter. 10. No snow globes in a carry-on. Aw, man! Such an innocent thing can be considered a possible security threat. Remember that 311 rule? Well, your pretty treasure contains more than an allowed amount of liquid, so pack it carefully in your checked bags. 11. Avoid traveling at peak times. By the way, this is not the 3 hours between 5 and 8 when travelers tend to peek around the corner at unsuspecting passengers. It's the other kind of peek. No, not the mountain kind either. Anyway, you can't avoid it altogether, but if the situation allows, pick your flight wisely to save yourself from huge lines at checkpoints. Airports are usually overcrowded during the holiday season or special sporting events. Also, try to avoid booking your flight on Fridays from 4 to 8 p.m., since this is the time when some travelers are returning home from business trips and others are flying out of town for leisure. 12. Look for far-away checkpoints. People tend to choose the closest security line to them. If that line turns out to be super crowded, just look around after ID and ticket check. You may see another checkpoint with much fewer people. Some checkpoints at the airport are situated at the far edges of the terminal, and that's why passengers fail to notice them. 13. Use TSA PreCheck. Applying for TSA PreCheck can be a great time saver for traveling in and out of the U.S. Being a member of this program has some great perks. First, getting through security and passport control happens faster. If you're a pre-checked traveler, you won't have to take off your shoes or remove a belt. And forget about placing your stuff like liquids and laptops in special bins. If you aren't flying to or from the U.S., then you can look up similar services available in your country. 14. Fly premium class. Of course, not everybody can afford it, but if you travel a lot for business, for example, and in your situation time is money, then you should consider this option. You'll not only get an enhanced in-flight experience with more comfortable seats and tastier food, but also will be whisked away to your business or first-class seat faster. Premium class passengers can expect expedited security lane access, which makes check-in go more smoothly. 15. Keep your documents close, and your enemies closer. Oops, sorry, that's from The Godfather. No need to waste your time by digging through your bag searching for your papers when you reach the check-in desk. You'll have to show your ID and ticket a few times going through airport security. So it's better to have them ready in an easily accessible spot, like an exterior pocket or simply in your hand. Also, keeping them in hand is a great way to avoid forgetting them at home or in your car. 16. Check in online. Most airlines now have this option, which can save you lots of time. You can also print your boarding pass in advance. If you're someone who usually travels only with a carry-on, checking in online will make your way through security checkpoints faster and easier. But if you have bags that must be checked, then check-in agents will reissue another boarding pass for you at the airport. And finally, remember, leave the spare change, take the cannoli. If you know what that line's about, leave me a comment. Hey, I'm going on a long and tiresome flight, but having to spend 10 hours crammed in an economy class seat isn't the only challenge I'll be dealing with. I have diarrhea. No, not really. It's more unpleasant than that. I have to pass through airport security. How about I take you with me, and we'll see how it works from the inside. Okay, so I've just arrived at the airport and got out of my taxi. And now there are several types of airport security I'm going to go through. The first thing I see after I enter the terminal building is a metal detector that uses electromagnetism. You've probably passed hundreds of these in malls, theaters, or stadiums. It's the first and, actually, very basic level of a security check. The main purpose of this detector is to figure out whether I'm carrying anything dangerous made of metal, for example, a knife or a dagger. Well, I'll be honest with you, it always seemed like this metal detector thing works with the help of some magic. However, it turns out I was wrong. First time this year. The construction of this device is quite simple: a coil and an alternating electric current generator. The alternating current creates a varying, that's important, magnetic field in the coil. So, let's say I'm going through the detector's frame, carrying something metallic. Thanks to the varying magnetic field, which surrounds this metal object inside the detector frame, it starts to produce electric currents of its own. And these currents, in turn, begin to create a magnetic field of their own. This change is immediately noticed by a special device called a magnetometer, which immediately sets off an alarm, after which I get stopped by a security agent who makes me remove my keys from my pocket. The line behind me is grumbling, but the next time I go through the metal detector, the alarm stays silent. Interestingly, the man behind me in line doesn't have to go through a metal detector. As far as I understood, he has a heart pacemaker, which has some metal parts. The strong magnetic field of the security check device can mess up the functioning of the implant. Anyway, I come up to the check-in desk to leave my suitcase. I can't see it, but I know that after it moves further down the conveyor belt, powerful X-ray scanners will make sure my baggage doesn't present any security threat. There are two types of security X-ray scanners. One of them will examine my bags, while the other, situated at the security check, will scan my body. But since my suitcase can deal with the radiation a bit better than me, the intensity of these scanners is very different. So, once my baggage is inside the airport scanner, the device releases X-rays. These rays go through the suitcase, and some of them get absorbed by all the stuff I've packed inside. At the same time, the empty spaces, though I'm not sure I have any in my bag, can't block the X-rays. That's why the waves just go through such spots without changing in intensity. After going through the bag, the X-ray waves hit a plate-like detector, and after that, they're supposed to go to the second detector. But the material located between the two detectors doesn't let the low-energy waves through, and that's why only the high-energy waves reach the second one. After that, the outputs from the two detectors get compared, and a digital image appears. In this image, security agents can see the shapes of the things I've put in my bag. On top of that, different materials are shown in different shades. For example, metal and glass are darker, and food, clothes, and plastic are lighter. In any case, I've left my bag at the check-in conveyor belt, and I'm now ready to go through a thorough security check myself. I'm going to be scanned with the help of X-rays as well. But in this case, the intensity of the waves can be measured. What's more, they don't go through my body, but get scattered over the surface. That's why this procedure is way less harmful than the one my suitcase has gone through. The X-ray waves don't fully pass through my body, and therefore I don't get that hefty portion of radiation. Also, I'm lucky enough to go through a millimeter wave scanner, and that's one more thing you should know about the human airport scanners. There are two types. Some scanners use millimeter wave technology, and others work with a backscatter X-ray technology. A backscatter scanner needs to take two pics, one from the front and one from the back. As for a millimeter scanner, it produces just one 3D image. There's probably no need to say that millimeter wave scanners are safer than the other kind, since they emit less harmful radioactive energy. Finally, it's over. I'm done with all the security checks and screenings and can start the most awaited part of my journey, the duty-free hunt. But even though you and I know how airport security works now, I bet I can still surprise you. Here are several other unexpected facts about security at the airport. Cats present one of the biggest airport threats. And no, not the Andrew Lloyd Webber kind. There are few things the Transportation Security Administration dislikes more than an angry feline. The thing is that a dog probably believes that an agent who's patting it down is just some random human being giving it a good cuddle. But try doing it to a cat, and you might not get out of this ordeal with your hands unscathed. And if a rogue cat manages to get loose, it'll not only be extremely hard to catch, but it'll also cause a serious security breach if it hasn't been checked yet. If asked, most people would say that the dirtiest places at the airport are door handles, bathrooms, or floors. But all these people would be mistaken, because the biggest number of germs dwell in the airport security trays. Just remember those long lines of travelers touching the trays, carrying them, and putting their shoes, carry-on luggage, and all the stuff from their pockets inside. No wonder security bins have proved to be dirtier than airport toilets. Besides, these trays aren't likely to be disinfected often enough to get rid of germs regularly. Now, if you've ever felt as if the airport security was talking about you, you might not be as paranoid as your friends think. In fact, security agents admit that they do talk about travelers with the help of code phrases. For example, they have special codes for particularly annoying passengers. Who, me? And if such a traveler gets an extra long screening at the next checkpoint, well, it's probably just a coincidence. Or not. Anyone who's ever traveled by plane knows about the no liquids rule. But not everybody knows that this rule also applies to peanut butter, toothpaste, creams, lotions, and liquid makeup, lava lamps, snow globes, some kinds of medications, deodorant, and even gel shoe inserts. It's true. Security scanners can mistake certain foods for explosives, which can lead to chaos, additional security checks, and a missed flight. That's why, if you have some sausage or cheese in your luggage, don't pack them too deep in your bag, or simply remove them from your suitcase altogether. Surprisingly, in some unique cases, forgetting your ID at home doesn't mean having to miss your flight. Apparently, you should provide super detailed information, including your name, address, and some other facts that can help to identify you to the airport security. If they manage to confirm your identity, you can move on to the process of screening. However, it'll be much more thorough than it would be should you have your documents with you. Remember to dress down every time you go through the airport security screening. Most people don't realize they're wearing a lot of stuff that can set off the security scanner. Among the most common things are watches, hairbands, belts, metallic clothing decorations, and even bras. So try to wear simple clothes without an abundance of metallic buttons and choose to travel without accessories. And remember that before going through the scanner, you should take off your coat or jacket and any jewelry. And to the security guys, hey, I was just kidding around about the diarrhea thing. You're much more fun than that. So, no hard feelings? Guys?
Hey, you've got the wrong person. I'm just a manager going back home from my annual vacation in Europe. The TSA agent pulls out a massive chunk of delicious French cheese from your hand luggage. Turns out, you can only grab really small amounts of soft cheese on board, since it's considered to be liquid. Fun fact, you can bring a cheese grater on board without any problems, but you can grate no more than 3.4 ounces. That's the maximum cheese amount. Wait, you can't grate it. Cheese should be safely sealed in a plastic bag. Good news, hard cheese is fine to travel with. Okay, they took your cheese. A large bottle of water, you're bad. Some cream tubes and other fancy souvenirs. Look at that fine Swiss knife you grabbed in Geneva. It now risks ending up in an auction. If you're lucky enough, the airport might provide a shipping service to get your precious souvenirs and even cheese, if it doesn't go bad, to your home for a fee. Still, not all the airports do this. So, some of the banned items will go to an auction to raise money. The confiscated items are usually sold in bulks, so it's going to be pretty hard to find the ones that you had to leave behind. Some other objects with more specific purposes are donated to different organizations. Pepper spray, for instance, would go to a police training academy. As for cheese, prohibited exotic fruits, and other food and water, well, they usually just get disposed of. Some items, especially really bad and dangerous ones, may be simply melted or destroyed. Magic 8 balls pose no danger, but they have to be checked in luggage. The problem is the liquid inside them. Yeah, it might be less than 3.4 ounces, but let's face it, it's hard to count the exact amount. Ask your ball if you can take it on board. It's likely to give you a "don't count on it" answer. Relieving gel insoles are a bit disturbing on board. The problem is the same. It's impossible to count the exact amount of liquid. So, no gel insoles, and no gel candles either. Perfume and nail polish are kind of forbidden too. It's not only about liquid on-board restrictions, but also about etiquette rules. Some passengers may simply be allergic to their smell. Plus, they're flammable. As for nail polish removers, opt for an acetone-free version, since acetone is a no-go for hand luggage. Anyway, you can grab a bottle of perfume as long as it's not too large and you don't use it on board. It would be a pity to leave a whole bottle in the trash bin before boarding. Still, you can sneak in the plane with more than 3.4 ounces of your favorite cream, claiming it's some medicine that you really need. But you do need to notify the airport beforehand. A bit weird, but it works. Sometimes. In case you need to check your body temperature on board, make sure your thermometer is electronic. Mercury ones are strictly forbidden. Who's going to pick up all the mercury balls if you accidentally drop it? Bowling pins are a no-go for hand luggage. Seems like the aircrew doesn't want anyone to have fun and play bowling in the aisles during a long and boring flight. No, it's all about our safety. They just think bowling pins might hurt someone. No sports equipment is allowed, be it a fencing foil, a bat, or even darts. Darts are sharp, and no sharp objects are allowed on board. Such items should travel in check-in luggage, unless you want them to end up in an auction. If you're into handmade things, and a transatlantic flight gives you enough time to knit a scarf or a pair of socks, opt for plastic or wooden knitting needles and wrap them carefully so as not to cause any damage. Those made of metal will probably be disposed of by melting, and they don't deserve such a fate. Snow globes, as with any other object containing liquid inside, aren't allowed through security. If your snow globe is as small as a tennis ball, you may be lucky to have it allowed, but it's better to play it safe and check the snow globe in. Liquid bleach is definitely a weird object for hand luggage, even if you're traveling in a white shirt. First, it's not allowed on board because it's highly flammable. Second, a brand new white shirt doesn't seem to be the right choice for a flight. Coffee and turbulence just don't mix. Third, the bathroom on board is far too small for laundering. If you're a hairdresser on a business trip, you'll probably have to invest a bit more when booking your flight. No hair bleach is allowed on board. Scissors aren't welcome either, unless their blades are 4 inches or shorter. By the way, scissors that aren't allowed to fly are often donated to schools, which is a good alternative to disposing them. Bad news for hairdressers again. Due to a gas cartridge that's filled with butane, cordless curling irons aren't allowed on board. Good news, electric curling irons are completely fine and safe. If you're an artist, you must have already struggled with security rules. You don't want your paint to get frozen or ruined in the luggage section, so you'll surely want to bring it on board. Security may be okay with your oil paints as long as they're under 3.4 ounces, but there's no way you can grab your extremely flammable turpentine. Now, in case you don't enjoy food on a plane and failed to order a meal on board beforehand, you can take any pan or pot on board and cook it yourself. No, you can't cook, and you can't grab a cast iron pan either. They're quite heavy. That's why they're likely to be dangerous. If a TSA agent confiscates it, it won't end up being donated to a local kitchen. it'll probably be melted. If you want to have some fresh smoothies while flying with fresh fruit that are allowed on board, like an apple or a banana, bad news for you. Blenders are allowed only in case you remove the blades, so technically it's not a blender anymore. Hey, here's when you need that cheese grater. English Christmas crackers can make a wonderful atmosphere of joy and happiness during Christmas holidays, but it brings nothing but a mess on board. It makes a cracking sound when pulled, which can frighten other passengers. They are not allowed in checked bags, just like party poppers and sparklers. High heels and thick soles aren't prohibited, but they do cause some problems. If you're wearing one of these, you may be asked to take them off to have them scanned. Sure, there are some plastic shoe covers, but these airport floors are swarming with germs. Wedding dresses are a bit of a problem too. Some dresses just don't fit in the X-ray machine, so they might need to be double-checked. All the fans of camping, beware. You probably want to check in a lot of luggage required for your trip, so make sure you check in the tent pegs too. Though if you travel light with a carry-on backpack only, you'll probably need to buy some when you reach your destination. Since they're sharp objects, tent pegs are not allowed on board. It's hard to imagine anyone having a drill inside their 5-pound carry-on luggage. But anyways, these are not allowed. So if you're a creative person who wants to bring a drill home as a vacation souvenir because magnets are lame, you'll have to check it in. If you want to sneak in a plane with a dry ice DIY fridge, you're almost sure to fail. It's flammable, so safety regulations definitely prohibit it on board. You can bring up to 5.5 pounds of dry ice, but airline permission is required. Anything with an uncovered blade is not allowed through security. Instead, a disposable razor or cartridge blades can be taken on board. Box cutters and knives, with a teeny tiny exception of a smooth butter knife, should be in checked luggage. Soap bars are allowed on board, but don't panic if a TSA agent wants to double-check your bag after scanning it. It just may look a bit odd on the screen and mislead them. Liquid soap, instead, follows the universal liquid rule. Rules for batteries may vary. Spillable batteries are allowed neither in carry-on nor in checked luggage. And lithium batteries also can't be carried on board, only because if damaged, they can cause a fire. Okay, you travel with your Mr. Scratchy, and yes, a laser pointer is your furry friend's favorite toy. But you gotta make do without it this time, buddy. Laser pointers are not allowed in carry-on nor in checked luggage. A walking stick can be used as a mobility device and then let on board, but surprisingly, TSA may prohibit this item sometimes. Play it safe and notify your airline in advance. Bon voyage!